Hey, Geekscapists, welcome to a brand new Geekscape episode. I'm Jonathan London, your host. If this is your first Geekscape, strap yourselves in for some pop culture talk. That would be movies, video games, comic books, TV, all of the pop culture goodness that's going to fit in your hood, right under that noggin of yours. It's under my hat. Over the next hour or so, I like to talk to a storyteller every week on Geekscape, and I've got a great one for you today. My friend Sean, the Wordburglar, up there in Toronto, first appeared on Geekscape way back in 2007. That would be May of 2007. That's a few months into the beginning of Geekscape, a little over a year and a half into my podcasting journey. And here we are, almost 20 years later, and he's returning to the show. He's also been on the show briefly at San Diego Comic-Con, where he's performed. We used to do a cabaret show. Do you know we used to do a hip-hop cabaret show during Comic-Con? Our good friends like Meg Aran and Wordburglar performed. And I got to tell you, a lot of people in San Diego, I'm not going to throw him under the bus, but like a lot of people when he came on stage were like, all right, well, I don't know who this guy in the middle of the set is, but I'll watch him. I'm here for the hip-hop. I'm here for the cabaret. I gotta watch this guy. I hadn't heard of the Wordburglar. Maybe the second he started rapping, he took over. He's incredibly impressive. He's a fantastic performer, and I'm really happy to have him here on the show to talk about his brand new comic book project. It's on Kickstarter, and it's hit the goal. And let me tell you, I do want to push it, but I want to tell you about it. Not that it's in any need of salvation. Like, again, he's tripled his goal, but I think you're going to want it in your hands because it's a really cool comic. It's got some great creators, including Sean, the Wordburglar. And I just want to tell you about it, and I'm going to have him tell you about it. But first, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. Geekscape continues to explode. And I got to give a lot of credit to Matt Kelly, aka the Matt Scientist here at Geekscape. He's cooking. He sent me a video clip just before the show of this brand new host we have here on Geekscape. I'd never heard of this guy, but he went to school with Matt and grew up with him, and he is a friend of his, and I think this guy's hilarious. He did one video so far, I think, for our YouTube channel as these shorts. You know, these shorts, they look like TikToks. They're vertical. His name's Eric Germ, and he said, this video is, do you remember movie 43 from the Farrelly brothers? I think were behind it. And I don't think I know they were, because either Peter or Bobby called into Geekscape to promote movie 43, and star-studded. I don't think the movie hit its mark. It has like a 2, 3, 4, 5% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not, it didn't find its audience. But this video that Eric Germ made for us is fantastic. So you got to be subscribing to Geekscape TV on YouTube, because Matt's going to be pouring more of these verticals from across all of our hosts. And again, like, I've been so busy in other areas that I don't even know what this network is anymore, but I let the Matt Scientist cook, because he's doing a great job. And Matt, I think you're amazing. And thank you so much. I can't wait to give you a big hug in San Diego here in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, when we're at the San Diego Comic-Con, man, and I get to see you in person. I'm really looking forward to sharing the booth with you for that week. And I hope the Geekscapists come by and give you a hug too, because if you're in San Diego Comic-Con, we're going to be there the entire time, as we've been since 2010. And it's such a great time to see all you guys. Geekscape's been hard. I had like a 3-week hiatus or so, not intentional, but went to South Carolina to visit the in-laws, and I was like, I'm going to come back and just immediately Geekscape, and it just didn't click. My head wasn't in the right place. It's been rough. I did do the Ironheart episode last week, which I love doing with Ian. We're going to do Superman here coming up after we've both seen the movie here, the James Gunn movie coming up. I think personally, it's a rough time. Like late June, the 29th, that's the day my older brother was killed. And it's always hard for me to like dig in deep and talk about pop culture. And I really need to shift my mind and not just think of like what we celebrate as any level of like frivolous entertainment, because it's just not. It's not why I write. You know, if you guys ordered Hear the Prophecy, our comic book, I wrote it as a love letter to my younger brother. And and I love that you guys are enjoying it. I'm kicking right now a box under my desk that has more comics that I have to put in the mail before I go to San Diego. The t-shirts came in. Paul has to come up here and sign some posters, but that stuff's going to come to you. It's tough he's touring as a pro wrestler almost every weekend, so it's hard for him to come up to LA from Orange County and sign this stuff, but we're going to get it in the mail as soon as we can. Because we're halfway through issue number 2, and issue number 2 is better than issue number 1. I really love it. It's going full fantasy book now with a lot of wrestling in it. But when do you see wrestlers versus a cyclops or a monster? It's so much fun. I just wish I was more eloquent in saying this, but it's been hard to not lose faith when stuff like My Country, which I love so much, is passing stuff like the big awful bill that happened last week. And I was like, okay, Jonathan, like, pull yourself up, let's go. The one thing I love to do as a running geek is I put my running shoes on. I try and get out of my head, hit the trail, hit the streets. And I got to run for the last 5 days. That really helped my mental health. I like to run with people. I like to make friends out there. I ran with Ophelia. She got her first medal. My daughter got her first medal at 11 months. On her 11-month birthday, she got a medal for daddy pushing her in a race. Right? That's how it works now. What is mine is hers. And then the next day, it was fucking awesome. Speaking of heroes, I went to Koreatown, and we ran from Koreatown through LA up to Alvera Street, hitting all these spots where migrants had been getting picked up, or not even migrants, like people who are citizens of the US. Maybe they look Latino, but me and some fellow Latinos and allies, like thousands of us, ran through the streets of Los Angeles Saturday morning, and it was just awesome. And people were dressed like luchadors, and people had banners and capes and stuff, and it was just awesome to be running through the streets of LA, my adopted city, and remember that this is also our country, not just the big terrible bill country, but this country. And then I checked the social media, and I'm from Austin, Texas, and the horrible news is what happened in Kerrville, Texas, with the Guadalupe River flooding, and that it's just terrible that the many people lost their lives in the flooding this past weekend. And those little girls at the Camp Mystic, that is a camp that a lot of my people that I grew up with and went to high school with, their kids would go to a Camp Mystic or a Camp Longhorn there in the area. And I think about the little girls who lost their lives, and I hold my daughter, and it just puts everything into focus. And I really don't know what to say beyond just the tragedy, and that, yes, this is the same country that is good and bad. I write Super Action Man as a comic, and I really want to announce a brand new comic of Sam this summer because I love this country so much. But it's the same country that will run through the streets of LA to protect and push back ICE and fight against the encroaching tyranny. And it's inspiring, and I love it, and it is oorah, and it's all the July 4th stuff, and it's fireworks. And then you have the country that, is like, that the heads of Texas don't want to approve aid for California wildfires, but they're the first ones to the table to ask for help. And we really should be helping everybody. And you guys know the American thing to do is to help everybody, and that's the ideals that we're built on. Do those exist? Yeah. And here's where I get back to Geekscape. This is where I talk about storytelling. Those are the ideals we grew up reading. This is why we watch the movies, why we play the video games, why we do this stuff that would feel like escapism if we weren't so invested in it. I do Geekscape not as a form of escape. I wouldn't do Geekscape as a form of escape, and I definitely wouldn't write a comic love letter to my brother or a comic love letter to my country. I wouldn't write this stuff or create this stuff as an escape. I don't think, for me, storytelling is an escape. And I think Sean, coming up, Wordburglar, is going to say the same thing because he has a pretty autobiographical project. It's a fun project. It's autobiographical. We're doing this as a form of catharsis, exploration, and connection. And it does take a lot to show up and be like, I'm going to talk about what a lot of people think is some level of frivolity on the internet. And maybe you feel that too. And my warning to you is when you start to feel that the things that you have invested in if it's Star Wars or if it's video games or if it's Sonic the Hedgehog or comic books, when you start to think that what you've invested your passions towards is some level of escapism or frivolity, you can start to really spin out. And I've been in danger of it regularly. It's nothing is a constant. You're going back and forth on this stuff, and it ebbs and flows. But think of the things that inspire, share the stories that inspired you, inspire others, run through the streets, gather a group, do this socially. And that is what Geekscape is built on. Connecting you with Sean, coming up here after I played the theme song, connecting you with each other, you guys coming to Comic-Con and giving Matt Kelly a hug and telling him he's kicking ass on the YouTube channel and on the network. And there's so much great news. If you guys are in Southern California, I got invited by Chicano Hollywood to teach some directing the weekend right before Comic-Con. We'll be in Pomona teaching a lot of Latinos some directing skills, and there's a film festival going on, Chicano Hollywood. I'm excited to go out there and start working on some directing skills and some up and comers. And then I've got some cool news. One of the national convention circuits, pop culture convention circuits, have invited me to be one of their moderators and come out to one of their conventions about once a month. They have conventions across the country and do some of their moderating, mainly in comic books, my favorite medium. And it's cool. Makes me feel good at 46 that like a convention circuit's going to call me up and say, hey, we want you on stage. We don't want, we're calling you, because I always feel like I've aged out of it. And it's like, who wants to hear a 46-year-old on stage talking about comics? But that's what happened. So I may be coming to you in your town at your convention and talking to some of the best comic creators in the game. And I'm super excited. And I start that next month. And then we'll see how long before Jonathan gets fired. I don't know. I'm going to try and hold on to that gig for as long as possible, because that was the dream. That's why I picked up the microphone, to interview people about storytelling in comics. And it really means a lot that almost 20 years into Geekscape, I get a phone call again to be like, hey, we want you to be our guy. Come on the road with us once a month and talk to people about comics on stage. And I get paid for it. And I bring the Geekscapists along for it. It's super cool, guys. It's super cool. And I'm honored. And y'all made this possible. So that's enough hemming and hawing. Let me start the episode. I had to get that off my chest. And I'm so excited to talk to Sean about everything he's got going on in the Wordburglar universe. I'm going to call it the universe. We're a part of it. But his corner, he runs it. He runs it. And let's hear the theme song. Let's come back and talk to Sean. Boop. All right, Geekscapists, let's talk to Sean, Wordburglar, calling in from Toronto. He's got this awesome new project. It's up on Kickstarter. It's called Wordburglar Rhymes with Comics. So automatically, I love it. Automatically, I love it. Hey, man, I didn't mean like did I bring you down with my monologue there at the beginning? I gotta check myself sometimes, man, because like I get depressed and I start spinning out, and I don't think that's what we're here for. But at the same time, like if someone's driving to work or at work or something and listening to this podcast and they're just feeling down, I want them to know this is universal, man.
Yeah, for not at all. I hear you on everything. I'm with you on all of that. The talk about escapist fantasy, I mean, just to jump into it, I mean, yeah, I think we all deal with that all the time. And the way I look at it, I mean, there's Geekscapist fantasy as well. That popped into my head. But the way I see it, you know, it's more of like we are always celebrating human creations.
Hmm.
This is from comic books and art, movies, action figures, whatever it is. Like, you know, I don't look at my old Transformer and say, oh, this is just some junky piece of plastic. No, this is like humans created this. Somewhere along the line, someone came up with this. This is art. This is a form of expression. And we need that. We need that more than ever. And I know when I pick up a comic book that I love, and if I'm having like a pretty cruddy day and then I read a comic and I'm like, yo, this like brightened my day. This brought me some energy. This is like inspired me. And that's all we're doing. And you know, with doing a Kickstarter as well, like, yeah, there's like lots of other places that people could go and, you know, help and support and do all these things. Like if you want to support some arts and do some, you know, see some more art come out into the world, and you want to spend your entertainment dollars on us and like, you know, your awesome comic and like all these other things, that's amazing. But it's I don't know, I have a lot of thoughts like that. I thought that was
Yeah,
a great opening, and not
I wish I
too
had words like you. You got such a good vocabulary. Like, I'm like, when I listen to your music, I'm like, oh, he pulled that one out. That was
oh
crazy. You just
well,
have a really good. You're a good writer, Sean. Like, you're a good writer. This is the arena that you're right in. You're really good at it, and I've just always been a fan since we met. I think back in that 2006, 2007 area.
that is
Just been
crazy.
awesome.
Yes, Silver Snail Comics in Toronto. What were
Where
you
you
doing in
worked.
Toronto at the time?
I was at Hot Docs. I was watching the Hot Docs. Guys, such a great film festival, Hot Docs in Toronto every year. Documentary filmmaking is just amazing. You guys know Geekscape put out a documentary at South by Southwest in 2014, and I'd love to do another documentary. There's talk here at Geekscape of pursuing more documentaries, but like, it's just such an undertaking. And at the end of the day, you just got to start filming. Just start
Yeah.
filming, dude. No strategy, loose strategy. Just start filming and see where the story takes you. And that's a lot for, it's harder now with Ophelia. And that's the one thing about like being called up and saying, hey, we want you to be part of our moderating team at this convention. We were going to fly you out to the convention about once a month. You're going to be on stage, mainly focusing on comics and talking to comic creators. And of course, I want to talk to Art Adams and Mark Waid and all these beautiful. I mean, Art Adams, come on.
That's crazy.
But I'm leaving my daughter for 3 days, at least a month. Maybe she flies with me. We'll see how I rack up the mileage. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough to just be like, I'm going to jump into a film. I'm going to jump into this. But I don't know.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a parent too, and I used to hear other parents talk like that. And you see when their kids are a bit older and they do come with them on to festivals and conventions and things. It is tough. It's a real thing. You think, oh, 2-3 days, that's no big deal. But yeah, I was just in Montreal for a weekend with MC Frontalot, MC Lars, some other friends of ours, Schaefer,
Yep.
and yeah, I mean, the whole weekend I had an amazing time. A lot of shows, a lot of great artists there. But I'm thinking about my kids the whole time. And it's just like, oh, I wonder what they're doing. Oh, this time, you know, I'd be doing bedtime right now, or I'd be like getting them up in the morning and making them breakfast. And, you know, that's amazing. And we've got that. And, you know, parents got to work. And I think happy parents who are like involved in doing their thing, I mean, that's just going to help your kids be even happier, right? Like when you're fulfilled, you're getting to go to these comic conventions. I think that's cool. But, you know, parent stuff.
Dude,
It's like
she's been to 5 conventions. She's been, I mean, she just turned 11 months old, and she's been to like 4 or 5 conventions so far, and she's about to do a week of Matt Kelly San Diego Comic-Con, which is what I call it now. I call it
amazing.
Matt
Shout out
Kelly.
Matt Kelly, by the way.
Yeah, dude.
Also huge. Like I
I don't even
remember,
know what he's doing. I just know he's doing it, and I like it.
yeah, I love Matt. And again, I've known Matt pretty much shortly after we met and we
Mhm.
connected on Geekscape when you were just starting things out. And I still remember rhyming like Geekscape with Aunt May's wheat cakes. Cause I think you brought that up to me because you were doing something in store and then someone was like, yo, don't talk to me, get Wordburglar on the mic. And you were like, what are you talking about? And I was just there like, you know, stocking
You
the
worked
shelves or
that Silver
something.
Snail. Silver
Yeah.
Snail is the best comic. I don't know if you still dig those people, but
Yeah, totally. Of
okay,
course.
the Silver Snail is the
Family.
best
Yeah.
comic book store in North America. Full stop. in
There
my
are two.
opinion.
Yeah, Silver Snail and Strange Adventures in Nova Scotia, where the first comic shop I ever worked at, where I'm from, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Got to shout out Strange
Of
Adventures
course.
and Silver Snail. I had the honor of working at both of those shops, worked in comic book retail forever. You know, I've got a rhyme. I put myself through rap school working at a comic store. So what are you surprised by my content for? Because that's just, if I'm gonna kick a rhyme about West Coast Avengers, you know, it's just like, that's just my life. And I, you know, if it rhymes, it's real, and that's what I do. I've always rhymed with comics, so that's and also, yeah, the name of the
Well,
book.
both of those freaking stores probably kicked the pants out of the sad and bygone Westlake Comics and Cards behind the Subway sandwich shop that I worked at in high school. But I think we both started it. You know, we both have done our time in comics retail, um, and I do miss it. And I do, you know, and I loved that time so much that, you know, part of what I do professionally here and there is I always feel as part of that storytelling. It's always like, hey, I want to hold on to that semblance of surrounding myself with stories in some form. And I look back fondly on those days working in the comic store. I mean, I don't think you and I are making comics without it, right? Like,
It's always
um,
here. Yeah, I have a song called "Remember the Fan Base," which is about a fictitious comic book shop, but it's definitely, it's on. I have a whole comic book themed EP called "The Spinner Rack," which people can download for free. So it's a plug. Go find the
you
Spinner
want them
Rack.
to do that on
Yeah,
like Bandcamp.
yeah. Bandcamp. They can just
Bandcamp's a great one.
type in zero and you can get the EP for free. And it's all comic book themed stuff, but definitely inspired by that time. And yeah, I have very fond memories of all of the comic book retail, because it's a unique thing within the retail. We are a unique bunch. Like whenever I meet people who've worked in comic shop retail, you know, record shop retail is similar as well, or toy shops, but there's the comic shop thing where you're kind of, you're, everyone who works there is a fan first and foremost, and then you're dealing with fans. And I remember I never went online, I didn't go listen to any comic book podcasts, I didn't do any of that stuff, because I was like, I'm living this every day. I'm hearing everybody come into the shop every day spoiling movies. If I hadn't seen the new Marvel movie,
And
I
dude, it's out
like,
of control.
forget about it. And
It's out
then
of control. Like Geekscape is, I love Ironheart. Not going to spoil it here. There's a whole podcast for that, and I go 20 minutes before spoiling that. So, the spoiler culture is out of control.
yeah. And this was like, yeah, the internet, those early days, like, you know, mid 2000s into the 2000 teens and stuff, like as things were just exploding. And I remember just people like, you should go on Twitter and talk about all this comic stuff. I'm like, man, I'm talking about comic stuff for 8 to 9 hours a day with people. I've heard every opinion from Image Comics to DC Comics to whatever, and I'm good.
It's
And
just
most of them I
something.
don't care about. And whenever I logged on to Twitter, I'd be like, I'd hear all these people like with these complaints or these criticisms, and it's like, guys, like, you know what? If somebody is really enjoying this book, why trash it? Let them enjoy their comic. And anyways,
No, I
that's a
mean, I
whole other
stopped
thing. Yeah.
reviewing stuff a lot on. I mean, there's dedicated like conversation podcasts for each thing. Like you, me and Ian, or me and Christian, or somebody. One of us, Christian and I, like we'll sit down and we'll discuss in depth something. But as for like the Geekscape episodes, I think I stopped being like, okay, here's an episode. I'm going to review a movie. I'm going to talk about the news. I'm going to talk about a trailer. I'm going to talk about a comic. I'm going to talk about a video game. Like, I stopped doing that when the people who made them started coming onto the show more frequently. And I was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? I remember getting an email from a creator being like, hey, did you really not like my movie? And I'm like, okay, we're done with that. I'm seeing these people socially, I'm seeing them professionally, and I'm seeing them like on Geekscape. I have to stop doing that. And so I just kind of turned it into, let's talk about your storytelling, let's talk about why. And that's really the more substantial stuff, instead of just being like, can't believe Superman has no trunks. It's like, who
Yeah.
cares? Who
I mean,
cares?
it's funny, not working in a comic shop presently, I do miss a lot of that stuff. So I love going on comic book podcasts, and I talk about it on my podcast.
Well, you changed your number. I've been texting that old person that you used to have the old number. They're like, shut up. This isn't Wordburglar anymore. Man, they have so many hot takes waiting for them on their inbox.
Yeah, I don't. Who is Ed Brubaker? Why are you texting?
I don't even know what is your number, but it might have been because of those texts.
Oh man. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, the Geekscape thing, Matt Kelly. Oh my gosh. And you mentioned that cabaret we did in San Diego. That was a highlight. Can we bring that back? I know we can't bring it back in like the next 2 weeks, but what about 2026?
Hey man, you slipped Matt Kelly a $20 bill. You might bring it back.
Let's do it. I'm sure Mega Ran will
be at the Geekscape booth.
Dude,
we might get kicked out for it. And I don't think you guys are ready for what Matt's packing.
Let's do another show. And I saw Matt. I think I was in Philadelphia. Was the last time I saw him in person, but we've done a bunch of podcasts and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a Geekscape San Diego Comic-Con concert night again, somewhere in San Diego. If somebody wants to hook it up, let's do that. Because
Sean, hold up. Were you going to have a podcast on the network?
I did. Yeah, my podcast, Do You Still Like This Movie, was on the podcast, was on the network, and still is. I just haven't done a new episode. I've just been,
what do you need?
About all these different things.
We're talking business now, Geekscape. You're all for the right. What do you need for that thing to be more consistent? I mean, I know I've kind of told you there's a lot of time suckage that you and I have now that we're older and parents, but what do you need, man? How can we make this work?
Yeah, I mean, I would love.
Let's talk about it right here.
Time is the big thing. So for me, like, I still do Weekend at Bergie's, which is my semi-sporadic podcast that still comes out, and it's just sort of like the all Wordburglar kind of podcast. I definitely would love. I have a lot of ideas for more podcasts that I want to get rolling, so we can talk about that. But yeah, this is the time in the editing. I mean, if it's more something where I can just turn on the mic, let's do it, and then it goes off, and somebody else can handle editing and uploading and all that stuff. I mean, that to me is like great, because my podcasting I cut back because I'm in the studio making songs regularly. I'm writing comic books regularly. I'm working with, like, on any given day, I'm working with like 5 to 6 different artists in music and comics, and it's just juggling. And then of course parent life and any other freelance gigs and things that come in. And with the Kickstarter now, we're offering all these rewards. So I'm doing like custom songs for people, writing handwritten lyrics. It's just like packing every thing in the day. Yeah.
I got these t-shirts right behind me. I've got posters over here. I've got rewards coming out my ears. Not that I regret any of them, and they will be repeated again in a few months when we do issue number 2. But I have a pencil inker, I have a colorist, and I have a letterer. There's 3 people who are directly working with me on the comic. I have an editor, Winston, in Chicago. 4 people.
Yeah.
That's it. I looked at this Wordburglar Rhymes With Comics monstrosity. I'm just going to call it it's a monstrosity. I think it's incredible. I think you got the crazy talent on this thing. But I look at the amount of collaborators that you have on this comic, and how's there not blood coming out of your nose right now? Like, this is insane. Like, Geekscape, I'm going to throw this up right now. I'm going to do a split screen. If you're watching this on YouTube or Twitch, or maybe you're on LinkedIn, I'm going to share the screen on this Kickstarter, and you're just going to see it. Again, Sean's not in any danger right now. He went. Oh, we just raised another $1,000. Sean's at 5,500 goal, but he's at 16,000 now with 23 days ago. Like, the dude's fine. He's going to be able to send you guys some of the nice stretch rewards, but he's got this comic book project. It is a compilation book based on some of his songs, and each song has a 1, 2, 3 page story in it. And I mean, right off the bat, you just have some amazing freaking collaborators. I'm going to find a list of them. Here we go. First off, Mike Holmes is awesome. Dave Howlett's amazing. Howlett worked on the cover, right?
Yeah, Howlett inked it, and Steve McNiven did the pencils. And Steve McNiven, I mean, you know who Steve McNiven is. For those who don't know,
welcome to Geekscape. We know who Steve McNiven is.
You know Steve McNiven.
In fact, I think I created an addiction with Steve McNiven, because back in the Geek Drum days, my friend Michael, who ended up working at Tapas, which is a manga app, and it's the biggest manga app I think on phones.
Sweet.
He got into comics because he said, Jonathan, your description of Steve McNiven's artwork on Civil War, the original Civil War, was so passionate that I had to go find it for myself, and it got me into comic books.
Isn't
Steve
he so
McNiven is
unique?
amazing. Old Man Logan, original Civil War, Geekscape.
Yeah.
You know who Steve McNiven is. He did this cover.
Steve, yeah, Steve's. Again, I could go on about Steve so much. He's like such like a modern. You know, you mentioned Art Adams. Like there are certain artists in the comic book pantheon that are just unmistakable. You just instantly know. I know that's Frank Miller. I know that's Art Adams, et cetera, et cetera.
Where are you finding
Steve
these people
McNiven.
though, Sean? Like, dude, I have my penciler Tom. Like, I found Tom on like either I found him online, but I go to these groups on Facebook where people are posting their art and stuff like that, or I'll go to DeviantArt or something like that, and I'll find people who are really good, or I'll get recommendations from comic professionals. I'm looking for an artist. I think I found him on Threads. He was like posting comic pages on Threads, and I was like, dude, what is your rate? I gotta find this out. But I did that once or twice for my collaborators. You have like 50 people on this freaking comic. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have so many collaborators on here. Like Dave Hallett, for example, if you Geekscapists liked Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man on Disney Plus, like his pages remind me of that style that you saw in Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Like, it's just fun. And this common Ender Sofsky cover, the Sega Was Bad one that looks like a Genesis cover, like this is just badass artwork. And then you got this Troy Little, and it just looks like something out of a fun freaking Adult Swim comic. This stuff is great. Where do you find these guys, man? It's hard to find good artists.
I'm very lucky. I have met many artists through, again, working in comic retail, going to comic conventions, just being a fan. Some artists have found me. Some have found, like, I've been at a booth and people have come up to my table and introduced themselves to me. I'm like, hey, I do this art. Other times I've gone up and introduced myself. I'm like, hey, I do this art, like blah, 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 blah. Everyone I'm working with on this book, like I pretty much met in some combo of music and comic books. So they knew what they were getting in for. How have I managed to do all this? Well, I've been working on this behind the scenes. Before launching the Kickstarter, we've had this book about 95% ready to go. So I've been planning ahead for about almost 3 years. It started in 2022. I was working on this album, Bergonomic, and this is the CD booklet. So it came with an old school CD. And what I did for the CD booklet was I just got a different artist to illustrate an image for each song. There's Dave Hallett again. And then the lyrics would be on the other page, because I felt, hey, if you're doing a physical release on CD, why not just make it as awesome as
You gotta have the liner notes, man. Remember
Yeah.
just laying in your bedroom and like reading through the Dookie liner notes, or reading through like those liner notes and being like, oh man, I remember just having the Ramones liner notes. Not that they had more than 10 words in each song, but I just remember reading the liner notes and just loving them. And that was me in middle school and high school.
Absolutely.
I miss those.
Yeah, I did this. It was a 28-page booklet that comes with
28
the CD.
pages?
28 pages. And then that's when it clicked in, because I've always wanted to make comics about my rhymes. Like I have a lot of storytelling songs, characters, like for anyone unfamiliar with my music, which is, most of the universe.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that here. Don't do that. Don't be like that. Sean, don't be like that.
Well, I love it. I've been very lucky to have found
it's because you stopped your podcast.
A unique, a nice, supportive group of people who are like-minded. And again, going back to that thing about escapist fantasy, I mean, it is the connection that we make. When I made a song about getting a high score in Nintendo Power Magazine, I was like, you know what? This is just me. This is my life. This is a story. And I always told people about the story that I got the first high score for Narc. It was a Nintendo video game in Nintendo Power Magazine. And I would tell people this story occasionally. It would just kind of come up randomly. And people were like, oh, that's kind of interesting. But then as soon as I recorded it in a rhyme form and put a dope beat underneath it and like put it out into the world, instantly, I not instantly, but I mean, I connected with people. And these songs, like that's it. Like whether it's comic books or GI Joe, whatever I'm writing about, or just like my original characters and things, finding people who connect with it. And then there's so many people that I've met, really, like, you know, across the States and Canada and UK, all over the world, where finding those connections, it's like, wow, we had this, what is that? And I'm always thinking about it. Like, it's amazing that like across the world, I'm meeting somebody who had like similar experiences to me, or like relatable experiences. Whether we were the same age, or maybe we're like 20 years apart, whatever. Like, I'm getting people older than me, younger than me, like, and we're all like finding these connections.
That's the
Um,
Geekscape.
it's the
That's
Geekscape. Yeah.
that's what I call the
It's what
Geekscape,
you're
right?
doing.
Like,
Yeah.
well, no, it's just I wanted something like all encompassing. Like that's when the name came from. It was like it was like a full universe. Like it's
Mhm.
everything. Everything is included. If you're a car geek, come on over. If you're a running geek, come on over. You know, and it's like you know, you just have to be passionate. You just have to be passionate because our
That's
time on
it.
this planet is so short. You just got to be passionate. You're part of it. We got the hour vids over here on YouTube saying Geek Drum got me into Wordburglar many moons ago.
Yo, thank you.
Um,
Great to hear that. And
dude, he's got the Sega logo, Power Rangers, the Sega Power Rangers logo on his as
sick.
his icon there on YouTube. I wanted to ask you because you know, the Sega song,
Sega was
and I,
bad. Yeah.
well, Sega was that Genesis was the first thing I like saved my money for. My allowance,
Mm,
like I had to get. I was so impatient for Sonic that I got it with Altered Beast and then prepped myself for Sonic. But I could not wait for the Genesis. It was the thing that I wanted to save my money for first in my entire life and not blow it on comics. Not that you can blow it on comics, but like I remember the pause in comics came because I got the Sega Genesis, and to get the Sega Genesis, I had to save my allowance. I had to work for it, and that Genesis is still such a big it's big for me.
yes.
Um, what are the overlooked games to you? Because like Narc, which you got the Nintendo Power world record for, around the same time that yours truly was flaming out at the Nintendo World Championships. I don't know if you know that story.
I don't, but I
Oh
don't think
yeah.
they came to Canada, those
I
Nintendo
crashed out
Championship.
hard in
Was that for
Dallas.
Mario 3, like the wizard?
No,
Fred
no,
Savage?
no, it's the gold cartridge. Come on, man.
Oh,
You know
was that
about the gold
track and
cartridge.
was it
No, the
track?
gold cartridge, the gold cartridge that they used in 90, 91. I think I'm a little older than
Oh,
you,
yeah, it was a
possibly.
time limit for all the different games, right?
You got 5 minutes, and
Yeah.
you get dumped into Mario right off the bat. You got to get 50 coins. The game freezes, pops you onto the first course of Rat Racer. You finish the course, and whatever you have left of your 5 minutes, you're dropping blocks on Tetris. And
Yeah.
so if Jonathan can just stay on the course, if he can just run through the underworld and grab those coins, which means setting a Koopa off, if you can just do this and get yourself to from Mario to Red Racer, and then if you can, Jonathan, if you can get yourself 2.5 minutes on Tetris, it's rock and roll pizzeria time.
Yes.
And it worked until they threatened me with going into the big stage, and you could hear my knees clacking together. Bro flamed out hard. 12-year-old Jonathan flamed out hard.
That's pressure, man.
Dude, I went down in flames. It was
Wow.
bad.
Rad Racer.
I couldn't even stay on the course of Red Racer. What a difference 5 minutes makes, man. Like 5 minutes earlier, cruising USA, baby. But then on that main stage, dude, my knees were hitting each other. It was so nervous.
Those were, and the sweaty palms on the controller. I can still
Sweaty
feel the
palms,
sweat
sweaty
on those
brow, sweaty everything.
Nintendo controllers. And yeah,
But
man, Altered
Narc is a deep cut. What are the deep cuts on the Genesis that you loved?
Oh, on
Sorry,
yeah,
bring it
Genesis
back.
deep
The
cuts.
Genesis deep
Well,
cuts.
so I like the Fantasy Star. Like, I was always into the RPGs, and you know the
Dude, when the
song.
cat would follow you on the Master System Fantasy Star, what the
It was next
what,
level, next level. I loved all
dude?
those Sega only games on Sega, right? So yeah, Altered Beast, Golden Axe, where the characters were slightly bigger, they were
Space
fighting.
Harrier.
Streets of Rage. Oh, now you're getting deep. Space Harrier.
My
What's the
neighbor
one?
David Level. I'm just
Not
talking to you,
Alex Kidd. Was Alex
dude.
Kidd
Yeah, Alex Kidd was great.
TurboGrafx? Alex Kidd was Sega. Yeah, there was a similar game on
Golden
TurboGrafx.
Axe, of course.
Yeah,
I want to do a Golden Axe clone for Hear the Prophecy, but
I would say Echo the Dolphin, which is
of
like
course.
it's an example to me of why Sega was so bad, because it was like, and I say bad because it was like, yo, people were naked in their games. There was blood in the games. There was like, you've got this cute, adorable, sweet little dolphin, and then you're basically putting it through this insane quest. Echo the Dolphin
Existential.
is not what you would expect.
Dude,
Oh, it's a
Echo
nice
is
dolphin.
alone at the
It
beginning.
is real. It is for real, that
It's
game.
emotional.
The
And there's fucking
music is
aliens.
beautiful. I certainly put a lot of time on like Tommy Lasorda baseball. And
I met
yeah.
Michael Kalutsky, who created the dude. Have you read Console Wars by Blake Harris? One of our friends
No, I've
here.
never read that.
Dude, you got to read the Console Wars.
Yeah,
It's about
yeah.
the battle between Sega and Nintendo. You
Mhm.
know about Console
I
Wars.
mean, that's what's yeah, I do know about it, and that's what Sega was
You got to
bad
read the
was
book.
about. Was because my perspective was at the time, a lot of parents were like not cool with getting their kids a Sega for a variety of reasons. If you had Nintendo already, they're like, you got one already. If the parents were like maybe a little more conservative or a little more worried, they're like, no, no, you stick with Mario. Like these naked people fighting in a graveyard, they maybe not the
Ultra
best
Beast is satanic. Evil.
And I'm certainly
Rise
wouldn't
from your
say I came from
graves.
like a conservative background or whatever, but it's just like in general, the spirit at the time was Sega was like a little bit older. It was a little edgier. When that
Mhm.
Genesis came
It was
out before
MTV.
Super Nintendo, yeah, that was like a whole other thing. I'm a Nintendo kid for life. I
Of
still
course.
play
Of course.
Switch. Super Nintendo to me is still like game for game. It's like it's hard to beat SNES in my mind. But and I mean, that's because they had Capcom and Square who did Rad Racer.
But Sean, if they hadn't made the critical mistake, and you got to read Console Wars because it's in there, when Sega of Japan only had 15% of the market share. Meanwhile, Michael Kalutsky and these guys in Sega of America using that strategy, the MTV strategy of Sega, and
Yeah.
Sega does what Nintendo don't. That attitude era of Sega, they got over 50% of the market share from the SNES, and that is a major piece of history there for video game fans. And
Master
Console Wars
System
is
was a
amazing.
joke at the time. Nobody
Master
wanted
System was a joke, even though there was a little cat running around on Phantasy Star. I loved that when you could see
Yeah.
all your party members in a line and a little cat in the back.
Wonder
But
Boy, like Master System was a lot of fun. My
Master
best
System
friend
was fun.
loved
And
Master System.
my neighbor David Level had it. I would go over there, enjoy the Master System. We would get the graph paper and map out the dungeons. But
Even the cover art was like that graph paper.
it
You
did look
said
like
graph paper. I thought that's what you were gonna say.
like Space Harrier.
Yeah.
No, remember when you were playing
Yeah.
like, what was it, when we were playing Dragon Warrior? I guess it's Dragon Quest now. In the States it was Dragon Warrior, but you would get into a dungeon and you would use graph paper to map out where the hallways were and the walls and the traps. So that when you came back to it, like I missed the graph paper
The
days
best. I
of
would write down
maps.
hit points of creatures
You'd
like
have to.
Fantasy Star or Final Fantasy, so I would know, okay, I got this guy's got at least 9,000 hit points because you just didn't know.
Well,
Like,
Sean,
yeah,
at the Nintendo Championship where I flamed out, they were launching Final Fantasy. It was the first place you could play it.
love that game.
That's how long ago it was. But all that to say, Michael Kliskey was the guy who helped create He-Man, helped bring back Hot Wheels and Barbie over at Mattel, and then Sega hired him to he created Sonic. And I got to shake his hand at Comic-Con when Blake brought him over to the booth. You got to read the Console Wars. It will blow your mind.
Yeah.
And would we still be talking nostalgically like this if Japan hadn't made that error in not adopting CD technology early, spurning Sony and the PlayStation deal, and making an embarrassment of that CES? It's like the Sega PlayStation, all that stuff was going to be real, and they said no, we're going to just keep writing the 16-bit Genesis into the Saturn, the Mars, the Mercury. I don't even know what it was, but it was too late by the time the Dreamcast came out.
And I thought Sony was going to do a CD thing with Nintendo, and then they didn't, and that's where PS1 came from.
Those deals were all there as Sony was trying to get itself into the console market, and they finally just Thanosed and said, "We'll do it by ourselves."
Yeah.
But there are Geekscapists who have played on those consoles. I know Derek did. Derek either played on the Sony, the Sega PlayStation, or the Nintendo PlayStation. He spent time at it. I believe it at like not either like an E3 or a PAX East or a PAX West. I know he got time playing on the damn thing, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Those were nostalgic days for me. I'm gonna say Kid Chameleon.
That is a deep cut.
Kid Chameleon was badass.
It was Mutant League Football. I really like
course.
that one. And I mean, these are of courses, right? Shadowrun. Like I love the Super Nintendo Shadowrun and the Genesis one. Both completely different games.
The three-quarter top-down RPGs.
Yeah, I would say
they're
the
great.
SNES one is like I like that more. I probably played it more, but
Dude, do you remember Syndicate?
yes, dude.
It was like a Blade
Just
Runner
talking
world.
about Syndicate with
Dude, Syndicate was the
Fresh
shit.
Steel. Yeah, dude. That was like that kind of like that's it. That
Had a MIDI
cyberpunk,
soundtrack.
Matrixy, jacking your brain into the Matrix. Like there was a Matrix in Shadowrun, and I think in Syndicate too. Maybe like they called it. If they didn't call it the Matrix, there was
No,
like,
but you had to jack into stuff. You had to like hack locks.
Yeah,
and like hack people's accounts and stuff like that. It was awesome. And then before that, of course, you're on a BBS and you're dialing up for a little bit of drug wars. We've covered drug wars. We've covered drug wars on Geekscape when you dial up and you're like, I want to buy low and sell high. And then you call back like an hour later and see if the market shifted. Do you remember Drug Wars, please?
I did not play it. I'm aware of it. I didn't have
the text space.
I had like a Nintendo was my introduction to. I was very much comic books and then like cartridges. I did not have a computer. So
so you didn't play like the Sierra games, like King's Quest, like
I did, but at my local library. So my parents
had
like, I was in a computer club at the library after school where I just go to this free thing at the library and I'd get to play Carmen Sandiego. And then as I got older, I got to play whatever King's Quest and all those Sierra games, the point and click stuff. Loved all that. But no, I never had a computer. So maybe that's why I love physical comics so much now.
No,
and I love
they're great
consoles. Like
I can't do the PDF.
Yeah, I need to touch
the iPad thing. I can't do it on comics.
I need to touch what I'm doing.
I have to.
It's just
and the storage is storage is a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta. Yeah, it's every collector's got to figure that out how they're gonna deal with that. You know, I've got my shelves with like my prized hardcovers, and then I try and if I've got like the full Invincible collection, well, I still have all my Invincible single issues.
Sure, of course.
I should probably unload those now because I think they're worth. I could probably
buy a
car with that, but.
Do you have a storage unit?
I don't know.
Oh.
So to me, I feel like if I have to get to the point where I have to buy a storage unit, then what I need to. No, I'm not dissing, but I'm just like look. I've got records, comics, merch. I try and keep it manageable. I mean, it's just not in my budget to have a monthly thing, and if it works, the storage unit game also where I'm located. I mean, here I'm deep underground in the Wordburglar.
Okay.
But like I've got space enough to deal with everything, but it's just too far away. Like for me to get to the stuff, and then like I'd just be like, why am I just gonna keep it here for 10 years? I should just sell it if I'm not gonna enjoy it. My wife is super cool and tolerant. When we first started dating, she saw my apartment. She came and she saw the records and comics, and she saw my G.I. Joes set up. And I was like, okay, this is the test that every geek goes through if their partner's not that into collectibles and stuff. And she saw it all, and I was like, yeah. And I was like, so what do you think? She's like, it's really organized. I said, thank you.
I wish Heidi said that.
Yeah, and she got it. And so her thing has always been like, if you love this stuff, like have it on display, have it out so you can see it. If it's gonna sit in like a diamond box or like be stuck under a table somewhere in a closet, like why are you owning it? Why do you have it?
I can't get to it, Sean. I can't get to it anymore. It's the back of my storage unit.
Yeah.
Like the storage unit door opens. Matt Kelly's seen it. Like because at Comic-Con we load up the vehicle with all the merch. The merch, anything Geekscape is towards the front of the storage unit by the door, so I can just grab it. If somebody orders a shirt or this and that, I can just grab it and ship it.
Yeah.
But the comics, the deep investments, like those are towards the back. And as I fill up a box, it goes. And I think that's like Ophelia's probably going to be in middle school when we finally have like a summer where we say, okay, let's take everything out of the storage unit and let's organize all the comics to sell. Let's put them all in order, because right now the boxes are basically on release order. and per box I try and alphabetize them and put them in order, but maybe I'll put 2 or 3 boxes that are at our place.
Yeah.
And once I have 2 or 3 boxes, those 2 or 3 boxes go to storage, and it's like the freaking Ark of the Covenant's in there now. And then she outgrew her first phase of clothes, so Heidi came with me, and she's because her solution for a lot of stuff was like, well, just send it to storage, just like it's fucking Gurgi's magic bag in the dark, in the black cauldron. Like it's not just some infinite void I can put stuff in and it's full of space. It's like this isn't the negative zone. Like it is a finite storage space, and it's popping, like it's full. We walked in there, and she looks at the top, and we have the Geekscape rolls, like our banners, and lights, like a lightsaber, like hanging on a pipe that I'm pretty sure at the top I shouldn't be hanging stuff on because it's got probably water running through it. And then I've got all my stuff in the storage unit, packed like sardines. And she's holding these vacuum sealed bags of Ophelia's clothes that she's outgrown, that we are not going to get rid of quite yet.
Yeah. Yeah, you never know. You got to hang on to some of that.
Hang on to some of that. And this is our first kid. Who knows if there's a sequel yet? Geekscape is getting a little long, but and she just goes, we open the door, she looked at it, she goes, oh. And I'm like, yeah, there's not a lot of space left. We're better sell some shirts, Matt Kelly, because we need some more space.
Yeah. Well, I mean, culling down the collection, that's figuring out the stuff you enjoy. I definitely have like my key issues that I'm going to keep forever and I want to pass on to my kids.
What are they,
if they
sir?
want it. I've got like a third printing Ninja Turtles #1. I've got like a lot of key first issue Marvels, DC. I mean, I worked in comics retail for like,
You're just taking that stuff. You're just like, it just disappears.
Well, I was no, I was working like I got.
Your name is Wordburglar, sir.
No,
maybe you shouldn't have gone with that.
No, getting that staff discount. I mean, that was a big part of it. I was
the
like,
5-finger.
I'm getting never, dude.
Hey guys, somebody pinched the place over the weekend. I wonder who it could be. Don't ask the guy with burglar in his name. You're over there in the back. Your eyes are shifting back and forth.
Selected a different name.
I don't know where that Jim Steranko went. Oh.
Working, it's more like the Wednesday to Wednesday, like every week new comics came in. I got the staff discount. I was like one of the few comic book people who was reading every weekly book that came out. So there's a certain time frame where I have like every awesome issue because I'd be getting a stack of comics every week, staff discount, get them and like bring them home. Some of these things I've only read once. Like somebody was just talking to me about.
Absolutely, you read them if you get to read them once, dude.
Yeah. Well,
some I've never read.
Yeah, there's a certain era where I definitely read like there are very few like mainstream comics that I missed between like 2000 to like 2012 or 13. Like there's like I got a lot of stuff, but yeah, like and then you figure out who you love. Like I always follow Brubaker, all the Brubaker stuff. I was all the Kirkman. Like I have the early Kirkman stuff, like Capes and Tech Jacket and all this stuff.
He did some
Battle Pope. And like
he did some werewolf book. What was it called? I picked that up.
What was it? Oh yeah, Wolfman. I mean, this is like
I went down to Golden Apple and met him and got that.
Yeah, man. Like
I'm loving his G.I. Joe.
Funkotron was his company or Funko something.
That Skybound G.I. Joe stuff.
Yeah.
That whole Energon universe stuff is so my jam. It so pumps me up, and I immediately, this is what happens. I read a comic, I read one of the G.I. Joes, I pick up my phone because I've written 6 issues of Super Action Man that have not been drawn.
Yeah.
And I call George Callert and I go, hey man, have you read the Sam stuff yet? Let's get an artist, let's go. And I just start yelling into the phone.
Yeah.
Obviously our focus is Hero of the Prophecy at the moment. But why can't we have 2 focuses? I've got multiple personalities that can each handle a comic.
Well, Hero of the Prophecy looks great. I can't wait to get a copy. And
dude, I'll mail you Hero of the Prophecy right now. Dude, I'm reaching down at my feet to grab it. Hero of the Prophecy. Dude, I got to mail you a Hero of the Prophecy, but I got to tell you, I mailed them to England and Canada, and not Canada, to England and I think France for the backers.
Yeah.
And I was like, no international shipping in these wonderful fans of my brothers who are wrestling fans were like, well, I live in France, maybe I live in UK. Yo, they got it was like $25 to mail a
Yeah,
comic to
international
them.
shipping sucks. Like even
The
just to
girl in
get
France got slapped with the tariff on her end. I think she paid like $40 for this $5 comic. I
yeah,
felt like a piece of garbage.
yeah.
I told him not to do it, Sean. I told him not to do it.
It is happening in certain cases. So knock on wood, things will be good. But
I'm gonna smuggle this into you.
yeah, yeah, it looks great. How many pages is that? That's a really sharp cover too. The colors pop.
26 story pages. And issue
Yeah.
2 has 28. Geekscape it's gonna cost the same, but like I'm just so undisciplined with my writing.
Let's
I
see
know
that
like
color cover.
you need to
Sorry.
really. It's Vittorio Stone. He does
Yeah.
Canto for Dark Horse.
But even just the way it's been reproduced looks great. Like
Oh,
getting
this
that
is comic
magenta to pop hard. Like we have
comic
magenta on our,
impressions, baby.
yeah,
Comic impressions is out of Florida. They're awesome.
they're the guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I
We've got
got
a local Canadian public printer that I'm using for this, but
no tariffs.
yeah,
I've got like 300 more coming on Wednesday, so we can take them to San Diego. Like
Dope.
they just keep. I can't hold on to them, but they're also at my feet. Like I gotta get them out of the house.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna have that problem here pretty soon.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Wordburglar Rhymes with Comics.
I'm excited. I'm trying to brace myself. We've unlocked a lot of the stretch goals, so I'm making room now to be like, okay, I guess we're doing the cassette tapes, we're doing the tote bags, we're doing like
Matt Kelly says this episode of Geekscape is taking us back to comics.
That's right. Let's take it back to comics. Take it back. Shout out, Matt. We love you so much.
Talk about what the origin of back to comics as a phrase is, but fine. Yeah. It's a postcoital cry. But let me look at your Kickstarter real quick. I want to see these stretch goals.
Worldburglar Rhymes with Comics. For anyone who doesn't know, it's 15 of my songs illustrated by 15 different artists in 2-page to 12-page comics. And all the words that you see are the words to the songs. So you get the soundtrack and then you can rhyme along. So and we've got stuff for like people who are into fantasy, sci-fi, Star Wars, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Dungeons and Dragons, just like comic book anything, like the song The Other Shop, which is about kind of like the worst comic shop that we've all had to go to get that last back issue of X-Men.
I was going to ask you about that. Like, how horrific was that? And keep in mind, Geekscape is in the States, like these are Canadian prices. So when you look at like the stretch goals, and some of these stretch goals that have been unlocked are only unlocked at if you buy the tier that's over $35. So any backer over $35, it's Canadian. That's $25 or something like here. So
exactly, yeah.
But so if you just order something, you're gonna get like a ton of digital EPs. You're probably gonna get a CD. You're getting a tote bag. You're getting a cassette tape. You're getting magnets. You're getting stickers. This is where I tell Sean, stop this insanity for issue 2 because holy crap. Dude, anybody who invested over like $30 American is going to end up with like a box of stuff. Bro,
that's the plan. We are doing it like,
it's not a good plan. You're going to lose a lot of money.
Well, I'm not doing this I'm not going to lose money the way it's figured out, but it's not about money making. It's the way I see it and the way I've supported Kickstarters in the past. It's like, if you're going to like put your faith and investment into someone to make this project, I'm going to make this as cool as I can without losing my shirt. I mean, I sell these shirts 1984, so but this one I'll keep unless you really need it. But the way I figured it out, it's like, yeah, you're basically going to be getting a lot of this stuff kind of at cost for me to just
at cost is how we're doing it.
And then just
you're paying your artist though, right, Sean?
Oh yeah, people like the book's already covered. So like,
I'm just trying to figure out how this math works, and not to be like behind the book, but like,
the math
is not myself who wants to make tons more comics. Like, how are we working this math, right? Like, I'm gonna straight up be pinching some of your like collaborators because George just isn't. I yell at George every day. He's just not moving fast enough. I want to start making these comics.
Well, yeah, everybody was super generous with their time and their art that they gave me, and it's just incredible. And yeah, we're taking care of everybody and like making sure, like, this is the thing, like I got the book done pretty much ahead of time so that when I launched the Kickstarter, I don't want people to have to wait like it was a really long time to get this stuff. The book, we're going to be going to print, we're going to be manufacturing and getting all this stuff in like August, September, and then hopefully shipments are going to start like October is my goal, if not sooner. So just with all the stretch goals, like cassettes take time to manufacture,
Dude, like I just got my shirts last week.
Yeah, it takes a
It
long time,
sucks.
right? And then you have
Yeah,
to.
and I
The
wanted this stuff
shirts are
out by
tricky.
May.
The shirt thing is tricky, and I was debating doing shirts for this Kickstarter just because it's sizing. So you have to wait till the Kickstarter ends to get everybody's sizes. So then you put in the order, so you're not stuck with 50 smalls and you don't have enough 2XLs,
Just take it
So
to
it's
Matt
like,
Kelly at Comic-Con.
I
Sell
mean,
this.
and I've got some people here who have like offered to help for certain things. So, knock on wood, this is the first time I've done Kickstarter, but I've done other crowdfunders on other platforms before. So I've kind of figured out good, I've got good vendors, I've got good collaborators, feeling really good about this. Like, to me, what's exciting is this Kickstarter, we made it. We're going to cover our costs. We're going to get everybody some really cool stuff. And I want this to be the first. Like, this is like the ground floor. Like, it's like if anybody who, when you start something new, it's like, let's get this ground floor covered and then let's just keep building. Like, I want there to be multiple volumes of this. Right now, I've got over 200 songs and I could turn all of them into comics. So who knows where we can take this?
How many pages on this
This is
first issue?
100 pages, and we're doing
Jesus Christ, man.
oversized. So you're talking about, let me show you. So we're doing, you talk about our boy, Steve McNiven. Here's the oversized. Now, mine's soft cover, not hardcover.
Yeah.
But so this is my comic, Last Paper Route, single issue. So just so people can see the size difference, if that makes sense.
Why is that
No,
important to you, Sean?
this is because I like a little bigger picture. I want to read comics without my glasses on.
Dude, have you done that thing where
Yeah. Like,
have you done that thing where you read a comic book in bed like later at night when your eyes are a little more fatigued in like you've realized that like the font just ain't gonna jam with it, and I'm like, oh, I might have to read this during the day. Like, how humbling is that?
dude? Well, this is another thing. I don't like reflective paper. I feel
Neither
like
do I.
that is hard. Like, if you're trying to read a
Yeah.
comic by a nightlight or something, the
Yeah.
light always reflects. So I want to do like a matte paper. And yeah, like font. Sometimes people do like red.
On
like,
black.
red on black is like
Dude, what?
impossible to
Who are
read.
these editors who are like, I'm gonna put a purple on a red, and it's like
Dude,
the font is gonna be a purple on a red, and then I don't know what the hell happens in inking or printing,
DC
but
are
like,
like the worst for that. I don't know
dude,
why,
who
but
thought that
like
was a good idea?
the DC Metal series, and then whatever that other one with like their zombie type thing. Like, I was
Sure,
reading one, it was like, this is literally impossible to read.
you're gonna have to read it in the middle of the day
Yeah,
in bright sunlight, because when those font, dude,
the font and the
it makes me
reflection.
irate.
Oh,
It makes
people
me
don't.
irate that like you lay down in bed. First off, the font size is tiny. And I'm not saying, guys, I'm not saying it because of my age. My cell phones has the same font size it did when it was
Yeah,
factory sealed. Like I did not enlarge any font size. I don't need to enlarge a font size. Some of these fonts, they straight up are printing red on a black, and it doesn't work. It's like you're watching a freaking Magic Eye poster in the mall. Like, I don't want to do that when I'm trying to read a comic.
it's frustrating. Talking about my buddy Dave, he did this awesome newsprint.
That's the
Dave
Howlett.
Hallett, the makers, get the
I'm a
makers.
big
Everybody,
Howlett fan, man.
go get the
He
makers.
Canadian?
He is Canadian.
I'm
I
gonna get
think
hit with
he's
tariffs.
one
I
of
can't order
Canada's
his book.
like.
I'm kidding.
I think he's one of Canada's best kept secrets and comics best kept secrets. But this book, The Makers, full series, he's completed it. It's like 6 issues, sorry. And I love it. It's like floppy newsprint.
How many pages is that?
Smells good. This is probably like a 32 page.
Okay. I'm like,
And
okay.
it's just like the way the art is reproduced, to me, this is like, oh, this is how comics should look. And it does anyways, the story is great. It's basically, the idea is kind of like what if the Image founders were kidnapped at the height of their success in the 90s, and they were kidnapped by aliens who wanted them to come create a new universe for them.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, these are like the Earth's greatest creators. We're going to kidnap them and make them create a new universe for us.
I think I've met every single Image.
Wow. The makers.
Founder,
Everybody go get this. Dave Howlett.
2 or
and
3.
Dave worked on. Yeah, well, I've met Valentino and
That's the one I haven't met.
Yeah, Valentino is super cool.
Liefeld multiple times on stage. Liefeld was one of the first people to congratulate me when I got engaged.
Oh, that's
just
cool.
right off stage.
Yeah, I met him in person. I thought he was like pretty straight up. It was Liefeld. It was incredible. And
awesome. Jim Lee, I just gave a copy. I bought him a Starbucks and got him a copy of this comic,
Wow.
the
All right
Prophecy.
then. That's pretty sweet. Well,
Sylvester's
you
a
should be
friend.
getting these guys on your
I straight
comic.
up no. Sylvester's busy. Like I just
He's
stopped
doing
with Sylvester.
Kickstarters, right?
Well,
Sylvester
Sylvester,
does
like
a lot of Kickstarter
he was
now.
booked and then he didn't. Life's got his own podcast. Jim's running a company. Maybe things will be different, like at a convention. We'll
Yeah.
see. Like, but then I did a panel with Todd for Stan once,
Sweet.
and I was like, okay, who else I got left? I got Valentino and Larson. I need Valentino and Larson, and then I complete it.
Yeah. I've met Larson a few times, and I love Larson. Like I
he's
still
probably
read
awesome.
Savage Dragon every month. I've never missed an issue, or whenever he puts it out. Sometimes it's like 4 or 5 months apart. But
People trash him for like his Spider-Man art because Todd followed him, and people are like,
followed Todd.
Or he followed Todd. That's what I meant. He followed Todd, and I saw some garbage online where people are like, "How could you imagine reading this?" And it was a pretty badass spread of all the rogues and Spidey, and it was a Larson, and it was freaking awesome. And it popped up on my Facebook, and people are dissing on it. And I was like, "Are you insane? Like and I asked this of Mark Bagley, and it's on the feed, Geekscape. It's just go back to Comic Con Revolution. I sit down with Mark Bagley, one of the top all-time Spider-Man artists, and I ask him, who's on the Mount Rushmore of Spider-Man artists? And I think the Romita Singer's got to be on there. Maybe Romita Jr.'s got to be on there. I think Todd's got to be on there.
Yep.
Ditko's got to be on there. I'll give you 5 heads of this thing. Who's that 5th head? Is it Bagley? He actually said Larson. I think he threw a shout out to Larson.
Yeah, Larson. Now they all got their webbing style from Michael Golden. Michael Golden pioneered that Spider-Man webbing that everybody, and they would probably be the first to tell you. And a lot of people don't realize that a lot of McFarlane stuff comes from Art Adams and Michael Golden.
That's the big thing with Art Adams and Marshall. Who did the Batman cape the way that Spawn does? It was
Marshall Rogers or Neil.
Marshall Rogers.
Neil Adams?
Marshall Rogers on Batman was influential on the cape for
Spawn. Marshall Rogers stuff's incredible. I mean, it's really hard. Romita Sr. is probably my top. Like when I think Spider-Man, if I close my eyes and I think of this like iconic Spider-Man, I think of Romita Sr.
Agreed.
But then everybody, like everyone you named, of course, and I love the way Bagley drew Spidey in the Amazing Days. His Ultimate Spider-Man, he was still incredible, and he was cranking out like almost sometimes 2 issues a month almost. He was incredible. And for me, my Bagley days are like his New Warriors and Amazing Spider-Man. Like I love that era. And I found
Thunderbolts.
Yeah, and Thunderbolts. And then I found people started to get like thinner or something, like a bit emaciated on some of the Ultimate stuff. But I do love Bagley's work. And again, so distinct. Oh, I could go on, but like, yeah, Larson.
We could go on.
And Larson following McFarlane, like, are you kidding me? Larson did so much. It was
why'd you get dinged for that?
But Larson stuff, if you read Savage Dragon, it is brilliant. It takes in like Walt Simonson and Jack Kirby, but it's its own thing. Like Larson is like a true master craftsman, like unreal. And the way that he's been like going, like he's on track for 300 issues of Savage Dragon, which no one can say they've written and drawn that at that level, like a series like that, right? And yeah, it's just phenomenal.
For the Cerebus.
Well, and even Cerebus, like Dave Sim did, was Gerhard was doing the backgrounds on Cerebus. So like Dave Sim, love him or hate him, he did an incredible epic accomplishment. I'm sure it's comics. People love and hate everybody.
People hate Stan Sakai.
But Stan Sakai, no.
If you hate Stan Sakai, you're a piece of garbage.
How can you do that?
Speaking of people with long-running books, I'm just saying people with long-running books.
My thing with Valentino, just to take us all the way back to that, and I talked about it on Christian's podcast, but I don't know because the mic might have been
You sound like an Autobot when you did it.
He
sounded like a junk bot. He sounded like one of the junk bots.
I think Valentino's best work, and I've read a lot of it, but for me is still the kid. When I was a kid reading his Guardians of the Galaxy, and I loved Image Comics, but the saddest thing that happened to me about Image was that Valentino's Guardians of the Galaxy stopped.
And it
And
integrated things like a female Wolverine, like it integrated things like the time
dude,
travel. It integrated a lot of things that Marvel then went 20 years later back to bat for on their stories.
bring
Like
him back.
X-23, he did that in the Guardians thing. Like Valentino did we're in the future, we're going to go back and we're going to get a bunch of the relics from the Marvel universe and all this stuff. Like he did all this time travel fun stuff. Like you know how now it's like Old Man Logan, you see like older versions of these characters. That was his like Guardians.
That's what he did, man. That run was so good. And especially as a kid, like reading that off the spinner rack and like still like I like so amazed by everything in the Marvel universe, but then like it felt like, huh, what Avengers are alive in the 30th century? Like
Yeah,
who would have what characters? Oh, is Silver Surfer? Where's Silver Surfer in the
yeah.
30th century? What happened to the quantum bands? What does
20
Wolverine
years
still live? Like,
before Marvel started making that a thing for like a lot of their stories. Like let's do an
yeah,
old man version of Quasar. Let's do an old man version of
yeah.
Logan. Let's do an old man version of all this stuff. Like that was
It
all in
was great. It's all
Valentino's run.
Valentino. And I don't think people talk about it, and I don't think look, I love Shadowhawk, but it didn't live up to it. And as a kid, again, I wrote a letter to Valentino in that era, and I have to find it because he wrote me back. And when I met him, I told him, I'm like, you hand wrote me a letter response to me, basically kind of trashing his image stuff. But I was just a kid. I was
Yeah,
like, I love Guardians of the Galaxy. Nothing you're doing at Image right now is on that level. But I was just a kid. I was a nerdy
little
fan.
brat.
And I wrote
Yeah.
this letter, and he wrote me back, and he was like, and he had done the Alliance at Image,
He's
which a
like, you
lot of
pay
people
my
forget.
mortgage, you little. No.
No, the Alliance was like his attempt to do a sci-fi Guardians of the Galaxy at Image, but I think it only lasted like 3 or 4 issues.
Mhm.
And Valentino, like, he wrote me back and he was like, he kind of, I have to get the exact wording, but he kind of was like, I admit it's like different than what I did at Marvel. And it may not have been like, he was very like understanding that I was a young, passionate, probably like 10 or 11-year-old kid who was just like, what happened to my comic that I liked? Why don't I get this one anymore? Why does this comic suck? And the guy who used to make it is on another comic that I don't like. And anyways, I always thought that was like super cool, and I definitely have that letter buried in the Wordburglar somewhere. But Valentino, if I worked at Marvel, I would be doing everything I could to bring him back to do a Valentino Guardians, because people are doing that. Claremont comes back to do his own X-Men take.
Dude, he's
You got
doing
Peter
Wolverine and Kitty
David came
Pryde. He's
back
doing
to
all
do
sorts of stuff.
X Factor before he died. Like, there's people like they can do.
John
People can do
Burns
the
gonna do something.
burn. Like, you got Larry Hama doing GI Joe still.
I
Like,
saw
bring
that.
back
I
like.
like it.
Yeah, anyways, we could go
Well,
on and on. This is
I mean,
me
Sean, I
like
know somebody
on
who
my
has a comic book coming out, and maybe he gets Valentino to do something for him. In
maybe I've
issue
got
2?
yo, I know
Issue
what I'm gonna do.
2?
I'm writing, I'm gonna do a song. Because
Let's go,
people won't take
Burgle
me
Cut.
seriously till
Let's
I make a
go.
song. They didn't believe my archive score till I made the song. I had this idea for 1984. People were like, "That's I don't get it." I made the song. They're like, "Oh, I get it." So maybe I'll do a Valentino Guardians of the Galaxy song and get Valentino to illustrate the comic of it. I'm putting it out into the galaxy
That's
right
all I'm
now.
saying. You're putting it as a guardian of the galaxy. Sean, we clearly could go on
Drunk with power, dude,
forever.
or caffeine.
We clearly could go on forever.
I know.
Let's get you off of here. Geekscape, let's go to Kickstarter, search for Wordburglar Rhymes with Comics. Just purchase a copy. I'm not going to say donate back it. He's doing great.
Thank you. You can
But
also
help
get all
him.
kinds of add-ons. I'm gonna say real quick. There's if you can,
Donate $30, you get a million add-ons.
well, there's records, there's vinyl, there's other T-shirts, there's cool stuff. So handwritten lyrics, we're doing some custom songs, although those are going fast. But sorry,
Dude, I went into the back and I re-upped like the ones that sold out, like the ones that I didn't know were going to sell out right away. That I was like, those are too expensive. There's no way anybody's going to really go for them. They did immediately, and so I was like, let me add 3.
I mean, if people
It was
want them, you never
crazy.
know.
It was crazy.
Constructing a Kickstarter, that's a whole other thing, right? And you never know what's going to happen. And you're like, okay, I want people to get the best value. And yeah, it's great. I'm learning a lot, and we're right in it. And thank you. Shout out everybody. I've been on a bunch of Geekscape shows. Shout out everybody. Like, this has been so great. I feel
course.
so connected, and you and I go way back, and I'm so excited that we've been on these journeys of geekiness for 20 plus years. I mean, life really, and it's great
Yeah.
that we keep crossing in the ether. And I'm
Well,
serious. We got to do a cabaret, another cabaret in San Diego,
I ain't dancing.
2026. Let's do it.
I'm not dancing, bro.
Matt Kelly, we need you.
Matt Kelly can dance. I'm not dancing.
And maybe we'll bring a podcast back. Maybe this is the time we'll talk about that too. Why not? I'm drunk. Let's go. I'm not drunk.
You're not. I know one
I'm
thing.
very sober.
You're not drunk. Geekscapists, you might be drunk, but I need you guys to come back in a few days. Subscribe to the podcast feed because we're going to talk James Gunn Superman here in a few days with Ian. And of course, you guys are going to come with us on the road to San Diego Comic-Con. And then let me see what the deal is with this new gig and how much I can bring the Geekscapists along for the backstage going-ons of what I'll announce here in a bit. But you know where to find us. Wordburglar, where can we find you?
Wordburglar.com, or type in Wordburglar on Kickstarter, and I'm on all the socials and stuff, but however you want to find me. And congratulations to you once again, Jonathan.
Dude, of course.
Did anyone ever, meant to ask you, anybody ever call you, like, I know it's Jonathan London, but anybody ever call you John Lon? I was like, John Lon.
My friend John, one of my friends calls me, I've been called John Lon, but J-Lo's right there.
J-Lo is right there. But yeah,
J-Lo's right there. J-Lo's the one that people call me.
John Lon sounded cool, almost like a Star Wars.
Throw it in the comic.
John Lon.
And
you get a song, and you get a song.
Throw it in the comic.
No, thank you. It's been a total pleasure.
Hope you're listening. Dude, Sean, thanks, dude. Geekscapists, we'll be back. Subscribe to Geekscape TV on YouTube. Matt's throwing up a bunch of stuff. Matt's cooking right now. All right.
Love you, Matt. Love you, Geekscape. Peace. Love you, John.